When we talk about the human body, there are certain organs that just get all the glory.
Oh, absolutely. The heart, the brain.
Right. The heart, the brain, the lungs, they are the undeniable stars of the show. And then there are the ones we treat like, well, evolutionary afterthoughts.
Yeah, the spare parts.
Exactly.
Right.
You often hear people talk about the gallbladder the same way they talk about the appendix. Like it's just this biological ticking time bomb sitting quietly in your abdomen.
Doing absolutely nothing.
Doing nothing until the day it suddenly decides to cause you excruciating pain and just, has to be surgically removed.
It definitely suffers from a terrible public relations problem. I mean, because we can technically live without it, we tend to view it as entirely disposable, just a useless little pouch.
Yeah, a useless pouch. But when you actually look at the blueprints of the human digestive system, that narrative completely falls apart. So welcome to today's deep dive.
Glad to be here.
Our mission today for you, the listener, is to explore the hidden plumbing of your digestive system. We are specifically focusing on the gallbladder and the mysterious fluid it holds, which is bile.
It's quite the fluid.
It really is. We are pulling back the curtain on an incredibly elegant chemical recycling program that is operating inside you right this very second.
And to guide our exploration today, we are doing a deep dive into some truly fascinating medical notes compiled by Dr. D. Hamoudi.
Right.
The document is simply titled biophysiology.pdf, and it is honestly a masterclass. It covers the anatomy, the chemistry, and the pathology of this highly misunderstood system.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before we can talk about the fluid itself, we really need to understand the physical layout of the plumbing.
Makes sense. Where does it all live?
Right. So I want you to imagine your digestive system like a city's water infrastructure. In this scenario, your liver is the massive, constantly running water treatment plant.
Generating the fluid nonstop.
Exactly. But a treatment plant can't just dump water indiscriminately into the city's pipes. It needs a way to store and control the flow based on demand.
Which is exactly where the gallbladder comes in. It acts as the local reservoir.
So what does it actually look like?
Well, physically, if you were to look at it, it's a small pear-shaped sac tucked right up under the liver. It sits in what anatomists call the right hypochondriac region.
Right hypochondriac region. Let's translate that out of medical jargon.
Fair enough. It's basically the upper right quarter of your belly, safely tucked away behind your lower ribs.
And it's surprisingly small, right? For the amount of trouble it can supposedly cause. The source notes it's only about 7 to 10 centimeters long.
Yeah, and maybe 3 centimeters wide at its thickest point.
And it holds roughly 30 to 50 milliliters of fluid. I mean, that's essentially the volume of a standard shot glass.
A shot glass is a perfect visualization, actually. But it's a highly engineered shot glass. It's not just a simple cup. It has distinct architectural zones. It's divided into 4 main parts. You have the fundus at the broad bottom, the body or corpus in the middle, a tapering section called the infundibulum.
Infundibulum. Fun word to say.
It is. And finally, the neck, which connects directly to the duct system.
And the walls of this reservoir aren't just like thin plastic balloons holding liquid. There are 3 distinct layers keeping this fluid secure.
Right, it's built to withstand pressure.
Exactly. You've got an outer serous layer, a middle fibrous and muscular layer to give it structural integrity.
And the ability to physically squeeze.
Yes. And then an inner mucosal layer.
What's fascinating here is that inner mucosal layer, because when you look at it under a microscope, it isn't just a smooth, flat surface like the inside of a water balloon.
Oh, really?
No, the source material shows these extensive, intricate folds of mucosa jutting out into the empty space inside, and these folds are lined with what's called tall, simple, columnar epithelium.
Okay, pause. Tall, simple columnar epithelium. What does that actually mean for the person walking around with this pouch inside them?
I know, it sounds like a lot. Basically, they are these tall, column-shaped cells, specifically because they are packed to the brim with cellular machinery.
Machinery doing what?
Their primary job is to actively pump water and electrolytes out of the bile while it just sits in the gallbladder waiting to be used.
Wait, so it's removing water?
Yes. This tells us that the gallbladder isn't just a passive bag. It's a highly specialized storage unit designed to concentrate the bile.
Wow.
It actually makes it up to 10 times more potent than when it first left the liver.
That is wild. So we have our treatment plant, the liver, and our highly efficient reservoir, the gallbladder. Now we need the pipes to deliver the fluid to the houses.
Which in our analogy is your small intestine.
Right. And the plumbing here is incredibly specific. The source says bile drains out of the liver through the right and left hepatic ducts.
And those merge to form the common hepatic duct.
Meanwhile, the gallbladder has its own little dedicated pipe called the cystic duct. And when the common hepatic duct and the cystic duct meet, they join forces to become the common bile duct. It's literally like two major highways merging into a massive interstate.
Precisely. And that interstate, the common bile duct, travels down and eventually meets up with the pancreatic duct.
So they join together?
Yep. Together, they empty their contents into the second part of your duodenum.
Which is the very beginning of your small intestine.
Exactly. And they enter through this tiny, highly regulated opening called the major duodenal papilla.
So we have this incredible, highly engineered reservoir waiting to squeeze, and all these interconnected pipes. But, a reservoir is useless without the water.
Very true.
What exactly is this fluid that requires such elaborate plumbing? Let's talk about the chemical recipe of bile itself.
Well, bile is fundamentally a physiological aqueous solution, meaning it's water-based.
Okay.
But the ingredients suspended in that water are what make it a metabolic powerhouse. It contains electrolytes, bile salts, phospholipids, cholesterol.
And a pigment called conjugated bilirubin, right?
Exactly.
And its main job, according to Dr. Hamoudi's notes, is to deal with the fats you eat. I mean, if you've ever tried to wash a greasy frying pan with just plain water, you know that water and fat do not mix.
Oh, yeah. The fat just beads up and sits there stubbornly.
Your digestive tract faces the exact same physical problem. The digestive enzymes floating around in your intestines are water-soluble, but the lipids, the fats from your food, are not.
So they can't interact.
Right. So the bile acts as an emulsifier. The bile salts essentially attack the large fat globules, breaking them down and solubilizing the lipid digestion products.
They turn them into tiny, manageable packets called micelles.
It's exactly like adding dish soap to that greasy pan in the sink. Suddenly, the grease breaks apart into tiny little bubbles that can be washed away.
Or, in the body's case, easily absorbed by your intestinal walls.
But to do this effectively, the timing has to be flawless. I mean, you don't want dish soap pouring into the empty sink when there are no dishes to wash.
And the body has a brilliant mechanical solution for this timing. At the end of that common bile duct, right where it empties into the intestine, there is a muscular valve called the sphincter of Oddi.
Sphincter of Oddi. Okay.
For bile to release, two things must happen simultaneously. The muscular wall of the gallbladder must contract to squeeze the concentrated fluid out, and the sphincter of Oddi must relax to open the door.
So if you were listening to this right now and you just took a bite of a greasy cheeseburger, your body is suddenly scrambling to coordinate this release. How does it know the burger is there?
It's predominantly controlled humorally.
Meaning by hormones circulating in your blood.
Exactly. Specifically, a hormone called cholecystokinin, or CCK. The moment fat enters your duodenum from your stomach, your body detects it and releases CCK into your bloodstream.
And that hormone is the signal.
Yes. That hormone tells the gallbladder to squeeze and the sphincter to open. This is also heavily supported by vagal nerves and splanchnic nerves.
Which is essentially the dedicated, high-speed electrical wiring system of your gut.
You got it.
There's also another hormone mentioned in the source called secretin, right?
Yes, secretin plays a vital secondary role. When highly acidic, partially digested food leaves your stomach and enters the small intestine, secretin is released.
Because the stomach acid is so harsh.
Exactly. So secretin stimulates the cells lining the bile ducts to secrete a bunch of water and bicarbonate into the mix.
Ah, so it acts as a buffer.
Right. It expands the volume of the bile and neutralizes that stomach acid, creating a safe, neutral environment so your digestive enzymes aren't destroyed.
Wait, isn't cholesterol the bad stuff?
What do you mean?
Well, we listed the ingredients of bile a minute ago, and you casually mentioned cholesterol. We are constantly told by doctors to lower our cholesterol to protect our arteries and our hearts. Why on earth is the liver intentionally manufacturing and pumping cholesterol directly into our digestive tract?
It seems entirely counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It really does.
But converting cholesterol into bile acids is actually the primary way your body maintains cholesterol homeostasis.
Meaning balance.
Right. It's how you get rid of the excess. The liver physically pulls cholesterol from the blood, chemically alters it into bile salts, and ships it out.
Oh, wow.
In fact, the source notes that certain medications designed to lower your cholesterol, they're called bile acid sequestrants,
Yeah.
they work entirely by exploiting this exact plumbing system.
Wait, so by taking away the bile, you're tricking the liver?
Exactly. You take these medications and they travel down to your small intestine where they literally bind to the bile acids.
It's like they just grab onto them.
They grab onto them and refuse to let go, forcing your body to excrete those trapped bile acids in your stool.
And so the body loses its supply.
Yes. Because it lost its precious supply, the liver panics. It thinks there is a massive shortage, so it vacuums up more cholesterol directly out of your bloodstream to manufacture a fresh batch of bile.
And just like that, your overall blood cholesterol levels drop.
It's a neat little trick.
That is incredibly clever. It uses the body's own manufacturing needs against it. Which brings us to a really crucial point.
What's that?
Because manufacturing this complex chemical cocktail of bile salts and phospholipids requires a massive amount of metabolic energy. Your body does not want to just flush it all away after digesting a single slice of pizza.
Not at all. The body is the ultimate conservationist.
So what does this all mean? It means your digestive system operates on a closed-loop recycling program.
It's remarkably efficient.
It's kind of like an electric car. You know how an electric car uses regenerative braking to constantly recharge its own battery while you're driving?
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Yeah. It doesn't just waste the kinetic energy. It captures it and sends it right back to the system to be used again.
Medically, it's called the enterohepatic circulation. Entero for intestine, hepatic for liver.
So how does the recycling actually happen?
Well, after the bile salts have done their heavy lifting acting like dish soap to emulsify the lipids in the duodenum, they continue traveling down the small intestine until they reach the final section, called the ileum.
The battery charger in our car analogy.
Exactly. The ileum is specifically engineered with transport proteins to actively reabsorb those used bile salts.
Where do they go from there?
They pass through the intestinal wall and enter the portal circulation. It's a dedicated, high-speed blood vessel highway that goes straight back to the liver.
And the liver just takes them back.
Yep. The liver pulls those used bile salts out of the blood, cleans them up, and dumps them right back into the bile ducts to be used all over again.
It really highlights the sheer interconnectedness of the GI tract. I mean, we often think of the stomach, the liver, and the intestines as these separate, isolated organs doing their own solitary jobs.
But they're a team.
Right. Here, the liver produces it, the ducts modify it, the gallbladder stores and concentrates it, the duodenum uses it, the ileum rescues it, and the portal vein returns it. It is a continuous, perfectly balanced loop.
And that concept of balance is critical, because as elegant as this enterohepatic circulation is, the transition from a highly efficient system to a painfully broken one happens when the chemistry tips even slightly.
Right. It relies on an absolute chemical tightrope. So let's talk about what happens when that balance fails. Let's talk about gallstones.
In the medical text, Dr. Hamoudi provides a fascinating triangular graph to explain this mechanism. The solubility of cholesterol in your bile isn't random.
It's math, isn't it?
It is a strict mathematical function. It's determined by the exact proportions of three things: lecithin, bile salts, and cholesterol.
So as long as those three ingredients remain in a very specific ratio, the cholesterol stays perfectly dissolved in that liquid micellar solution.
Exactly. But if you cross a specific mathematical threshold, say, there is suddenly too much cholesterol being pumped in by the liver, or maybe not enough bile salts being recycled from the ileum.
What happens?
The cholesterol physically precipitates out of the liquid. It turns from a dissolved substance into solid, microscopic cholesterol crystals.
And those microscopic crystals slowly clump together layer by layer to form stones.
Yes.
The document outlines a few different types of these stones, and it explains why they look so incredibly different from one another.
Yeah, the vast majority, about 80%, are what we call mixed stones, because they are a chaotic mix of cholesterol, calcium, and bile pigments.
What do they look like?
They usually form as multiple small faceted stones with a smooth yellowish-green surface. They rub against each other in the gallbladder, which gives them those flat facets, almost like poorly cut gemstones.
Wow. And then you have pure cholesterol stones, right? Which make up about 5%.
That's right.
These are usually large, solitary, oval-shaped stones that are pale white. And the source notes that if you cut one in half, it actually has a radiating crystalline structure inside.
Which makes perfect sense when you think about it. It's literally pure cholesterol precipitating out slowly over years.
Growing outward from the center like the rings of a tree.
Exactly. We also have combined stones making up about 10%. And on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you have pigment stones, which are quite rare.
Are they made of cholesterol too?
No, not at all. They are made of calcium bilirubinate, which is a waste product we'll discuss in a moment. Because of that, they are tiny, multiple, and jet black.
So eerie.
But when we look at who actually gets the common cholesterol stones, the document lists a set of risk factors that are very specific.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because in medical school, they teach this using a mnemonic device known as the 6Fs.
Yes, the classic success.
And when you read the list out loud, it honestly sounds like some strange, slightly insulting 19th century nursery rhyme.
It's definitely a blunt mnemonic.
The risk factors are female, 40, fertile, fat, fair meaning it is statistically more prevalent in Caucasian populations and family history.
If we connect this to the bigger picture of the chemistry we just discussed, it tells a compelling physiological story. It shows exactly how demographic and genetic traits physically manifest as a failure of chemical ratios.
How so? Walk us through the math of those traits.
Well, take the hormone estrogen, for example. Estrogen naturally increases the amount of cholesterol secreted into the bile, while simultaneously decreasing gallbladder motility.
Meaning it doesn't squeeze as often.
Right. That directly explains the female and fertile factors. The liquid sits longer, and it's richer in cholesterol, making it easier to crystallize.
Makes sense. What about the others?
Then you look at age. As we age, our bodies naturally decrease the synthesis of bile acids, which explains the 40 factor. Less bile acid means the cholesterol can't stay dissolved.
Okay, so the ratio breaks down.
Exactly. Obesity physically increases your body's overall cholesterol synthesis, addressing the fat factor, and genetics obviously dictate the baseline efficiency of your liver's metabolic pathways from birth.
So all of these seemingly disconnected traits, your age, your gender, your body weight, your ancestry, they're all just different variables pushing that core mathematical ratio of lecithin, bile salt, and cholesterol further and further out of balance.
Until a solid stone crystallizes in the dark. Now, a stone sitting quietly at the bottom of the gallbladder might never bother you. Many people live their whole lives with them and never know.
So when does it become a problem?
The real danger arises mechanically. When you eat that greasy burger, the gallbladder forcefully contracts and it can accidentally squeeze one of those solid stones out of the reservoir and wedge it tightly into the plumbing.
Which brings us to the final and visually most striking consequence of this system failing.
The backup.
Right. If a stone gets lodged in that narrow common bile duct, the entire plumbing system backs up. And when bile backs up, we get a rapid toxic buildup of a waste product called bilirubin, resulting in a condition known as jaundice.
To truly understand jaundice, we have to look at where bilirubin actually comes from.
Where does it come from?
Surprisingly, it starts completely outside the digestive system, in your blood.
Wow.
When your red blood cells grow old, usually after about 120 days, your body breaks them down.
And then what?
The end product of breaking down the oxygen-carrying heme in your red blood cells is this yellow pigment called bilirubin.
At this stage, it's what the document calls unconjugated or indirect bilirubin.
Correct. And it is not water-soluble yet.
So it's essentially a toxic, fat-soluble waste floating in your blood. So it hitches a ride on a transport protein called albumin to travel safely through your bloodstream straight to the liver.
Once it arrives, the liver acts as the ultimate filtration plant. It takes this waste and conjugates it.
Conjugates it.
Meaning it attaches a sugar molecule to it. Suddenly making it water-soluble, it can now be safely dissolved and secreted into the bile.
And this conjugated bilirubin is actually the exact pigment that gives bile its characteristic, vibrant, yellowish-green color.
Yes. But the journey doesn't stop there. Once it travels down the bile ducts and enters your intestines, the bacteria in your gut get a hold of it.
You just eat it.
They feast on it, and they convert it into a substance called urobilinogen. Some of that gets oxidized into a compound called stercobilin.
And here is a wild fact from the source material. Stercobilin is the exact chemical compound responsible for giving human feces its dark brown color.
This raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider. Think about the implications of this pathway. The disposal of a toxic metabolic waste product originating in your blood relies entirely on the open, free-flowing plumbing of your digestive system to reach the toilet.
It is remarkably mechanical.
Yeah.
I mean, if a gallstone falls out of the gallbladder and blocks that common bile duct,
A condition the medical world calls choledocholithesis.
right, if that happens, the entire system is deadlocked. The liver is still pulling dead red blood cells from the blood. It's still conjugating the bilirubin. It's still trying to pump it into the bile ducts, but the pipe is capped.
And because it cannot enter the intestines to be turned into stercobilin, your stool suddenly turns pale, almost clay-colored.
That's alarming.
It gets worse. Meanwhile, that massive backlog of yellow pigment has literally nowhere to go but backward. It backs up into the liver, spills over the dam into the bloodstream, and begins to deposit directly into the tissues of your body.
And the source material provides some really visceral visual evidence of this backup.
Oh, absolutely.
When that bilirubin deposits in the tissues, you get that classic sign of jaundice, a very distinct, bright yellowing of the skin and the sclera, which are the whites of your eyes. You look in the mirror and your eyes are literally stained yellow with the waste of your own dead red blood cells.
Furthermore, because the bilirubin is now water-soluble and backing up into the blood, the body desperately tries to find an alternative escape route.
Where does it go?
It tries to filter this waste out through the kidneys instead. There is a photograph in the document showing a hospital catheter bag of a jaundiced patient. The urine inside isn't pale yellow.
It's dark, right?
It's a deep, dark, concentrated brown, almost like dark tea or cola. That is the visual proof of the bile pigment flooding the kidneys.
Wow. The text also categorizes jaundice into 3 types. Prehepatic, which is an overproduction of bilirubin before it even reaches the liver.
Right.
Hepatic, which is a problem within the liver tissue itself. And posthepatic, which is a decreased excretion due to an obstruction downstream. So a gallstone blocking the duct is the textbook posthepatic scenario.
Interestingly, we also see a buildup of bilirubin in newborns, though for an entirely different physiological reason.
Wait, really? Why?
Well, the document includes images of infants undergoing phototherapy. Newborn livers are sometimes just too immature to process and conjugate the bilirubin fast enough, so it builds up in their blood. To help them, we place them under specific blue lights.
And it's not just to keep them warm, right? The light itself is a medical treatment.
Exactly. The physics of it is amazing. The specific wavelength of that blue light energy actually physically penetrates the baby's translucent skin and hits the bilirubin molecules circulating in the capillaries.
And it does what?
The light energy bends the shape of the bilirubin molecules, structurally changing them into a water-soluble form. This allows the baby to safely excrete the waste into their urine and stool, even without the liver doing the conjugating work.
That is a brilliant medical intervention for a system that is temporarily overwhelmed. You're using light to literally bend toxic waste into something safe.
It really is one of the most elegant treatments we have.
So let's zoom out and look at the massive journey we've just taken. We started with the physical anatomy of a small, pear-shaped sac that most people only think about when it's being surgically removed.
We mapped the intricate plumbing of the hepatic and cystic ducts, merging like highways.
We explored the chemical tightrope of cholesterol, lecithin, and bile salts that allows us to absorb our food. And we saw exactly how age, weight, and hormones can tip that delicate mathematical balance into solid crystallization.
Finally, we traced the path of dead red blood cells, watching how a simple mechanical blockage by a stone can turn the whites of your eyes yellow and your urine the color of dark tea.
It is a remarkable testament to how deeply integrated our bodily systems are. The digestive system doesn't just process the food we eat, it actively maintains our cholesterol levels and rigidly manages our cellular waste disposal.
Truly interconnected.
Which leaves us with a profound biological paradox to mull over. We've spent this entire deep dive talking about how incredibly essential the gallbladder is. It concentrates bile, it times the release perfectly with our meals, and it manages a highly complex chemical recycling loop.
And yet,
when it becomes filled with stones and is surgically removed, human beings survive perfectly fine. Your liver simply adapts by continuously dripping a slow, steady stream of unconjugated bile directly into your intestines instead of storing it up for a massive release.
it begs a fascinating evolutionary question.
Exactly. If we can live so easily without it today, why did nature spend millions of years engineering such an elegant, specialized reservoir in the first place?
What incredible advantage did that extra concentrated burst of bile give our ancestors?
Perhaps it was the key to surviving massive, rare, fatty meals after a successful hunt when food was scarce. As you go about your day, keep questioning the hidden systems operating inside you and the ancient echoes of survival they still carry. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.